go ahead and add in an extra part to like filter it out some more. Now, you don't find him physically attractive enough. Okay. Now, is he actually charismatic and charming and can like you're attracted to him and you want to follow his lead, etc. So most guys don't qualify. So I know for a fact that most women are not attracted to most men. Fortunately, though, right, for some guys here, they're able to barter with other things. Maybe their money, maybe their status, etc. And they're able to get a girl to marry them. That's not going to last forever, though, because he didn't have the prerequisite skill set to actually be attractive from a holistic level. He was able to pull her with her money. He was able to pull her with his clout. He was able to pull her with maybe a mouthpiece, but he was a brokey. So what ends up happening is the girl, since the guy barely got her, right? She's like, oh, I don't fucking need this guy. And then the reason why, because you're saying, well, how do you know with the age gap that why she's leaving, etc.? Well, I know just off rip that most guys are simps. And most guys don't understand that they need to lead the relationship, especially in the West. You said earlier, right, that you like more liberal men? Mm-hmm. Okay. And I know you make a bunch of arguments for that, etc. You're a minority. Most women don't like how liberal men behave because most liberal men treat a relationship egalitarian. They think that men and women are equal. They go ahead and say, what do you think? What's your opinion? Most women don't want that. I know that that's what you want, but most women don't like that.
So you're saying most men are whatever, all this, you're true, but how you would have to explain my stat is by saying that those men are overrepresented in the group that are marrying younger women. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense because that would, if most men are simps, then most men who marry the women in the same age range are simps too. But for some reason, there's something. That is true. Yes. Yeah, they are, but the divorce, you have to explain that by saying that the men who marry women younger than them are overrepresented in simpness. Yes, because they're average. Hold on. And the reason why I can say that, the reason why I can say that so conclusively is because I know that most men don't understand female nature. So the men that are polled, that are getting married to these younger women that are getting divorced, right? But that with this age gap that you're describing, what I'm saying is that they might have pulled her with one skill set, maybe two skill sets. Maybe they had money, but they were charming, but they're ugly or whatever. Who knows? The point I'm trying to make is, is that this age gap doesn't account for their ability to be a leader and be attractive in other facets because women have a multivariate analysis of what they like. But what I'm saying is those men that are marrying women younger to them have to be less likely than people who are marrying people in the same age for it to make sense why they're getting divorced at higher rates.
They're average guys.
Yeah, but the average guys are also marrying women in their age range. Are they more average if they're marrying someone younger than them? That's what I'm...
No. There's a baseline here, and most guys are average. So by default, just because he's marrying a lower age woman,
we're talking about average as far as like being attractive and understanding female. I'm not talking about socioeconomics. I'm talking like they have certain preconceived thoughts where they just don't have attractive traits in their behavior. That's what I'm saying.
And are those men to be more likely to marry women younger than them than men who don't have the men who have charm? That's my question.
They think marrying a woman that's younger is going to be better for them. But by default, they're still a simp. They still don't understand women naturally.
Are men who marry women younger than them more likely to exhibit simp traits than a man who marries a woman 25 and older and generally in the same age range that has a less statistical likelihood?
I want to know what the age differential we're talking about here because we really need to clarify that. So it's one, like I said, it's one thing if a guy's basically. Okay, so 10 years.
10 years increases 35? Your likelihood of divorce by 40%.
Because statistically speaking, women tend to, they desire anyways, guys who are anywhere between 3 to 7 years older than they are. So it comes out to right about 5 years as the difference. Are we talking, if the guy's 5 years difference, are we now in a different category?
So you are, but the likelihood of divorce is still higher than if you marry someone within 3 years, but 10 years is when 10 years it goes up by 40%. That's quite a big difference. So I would say a lot of you guys are in your 30s and you guys, at least some of the stuff I've heard, oh, I want a woman who's 20, 21, 22. That woman is more likely to divorce you than a woman at 25 is. That's what I'm saying.
If you're a regular guy.
Yeah.
But you
If you're a regular guy, you're excluding all the other advice we give. Yeah. You're excluding. You're saying, okay, statistically speaking, if you're a regular guy and you get with a girl 10 years or above, you have a higher chance of getting divorced.
Yeah.
True. However, if you implement all the other things we teach on this podcast, with understanding frame, understanding what arouses women versus what attracts them, the difference between that, getting your money on point, getting in the gym, being attractive, understanding how tonality, how to speak to a woman properly, right? Speaking to her in a certain type of way versus speaking to a woman versus speaking to a man. If you understand all these things, that's going to significantly reduce.
Wouldn't that reduce it for everybody? So my question is,
here's the thing. The difference is, I forget if it's called attractiveness differential or attractiveness quotient or attractiveness attractiveness quotient differential, something like that. They talk about in evolutionary psychology. The difference, it's not just his simpiness versus her attractiveness. It is the delta between the two that then makes him more simpy. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get it. So I agree with you because relationships last longer when you marry somebody or you're with somebody of kind of equal attractiveness.
For sure, because there's a leverage point. I do have a question though for you, kind of on the same line. You would agree, I mean, obviously we're talking about here, that women would just in general be able to get more attention from guys than the other way around, right? That's a leverage point in a relationship. Meaning, like, if she wanted casual sex, she could get it faster than, like, a celebrity, right? Okay, in that instance, do you believe that a more successful relationship would be for a woman to be more into her man than the other way around?
I would say that personally, I think it should be a partnership.
But if it is a partnership and she has the leverage point of being able to get so much more attention, like we talked about in this May-December wedding, do you see how that's a problem? Like, she has this leverage point that he doesn't have.
And more access, a lot more access versus the opposite.
It depends on the person. Like, I don't think that just having leverage or access to other people means that now that needs to be leveled out by you liking this guy more than...
Right, but he doesn't have this leverage point that she does have. Do you understand? Okay, I guess another question would be, do you think a successful relationship or a relationship would be more likely to be successful if a man leads in a relationship?
I don't think so.
You don't think a relationship would be more successful if a man leads?
No.
There you go.
I don't think there's any.
It is impossible.
So again,
I don't necessarily think it's less successful. So a lot of times, like leading, I mean, I don't know what that really looks like or means, but like a lot of traditional conservatives, they do have marriages that last longer, but that has been attributed, at least from the research, to going to church. These kinds of things make you more likely. I haven't seen anything.
What's the bottom line of church and religion?
In the church, that would be the thing, is that the man leads.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Three major religions on the planet.
I would say that you also think you take marriage more seriously. You think it's a celestial bond from God.
Sure.
Like those things are going to make you take marriage. It's not just
let's not forget, Hindus have the lowest divorce rate.
Well, they're arranged marriages.
Shout out to our Hindu brothers.
I mean, in the Middle East, I'm Middle Eastern. My parents were both immigrants from Iran. They just don't get divorced.
Okay, so you don't believe that a man should lead in a relationship?
I think it depends on the people in the relationship. Some women, they like that, and I think those relationships can be just as happy and work out. And I think in other relationships, they want it to be more egalitarian.
Would you agree that it's a majority, like a staggering majority of women that prefer the man to lead?
I don't think it's a staggering majority.
Wait,
I don't think so.
I'm sorry. I'm confused of what you guys mean by lead.
Me too.
Right?
So I'm just
okay. Let me go ahead and define it. The man is the primary decision maker. He can go ahead and get his woman's opinion. However, any serious decision is made by the man. Moving, anything like that. He is the predominant breadwinner. The woman works from an elective standpoint, and he's dominant and assertive and a bunch of other, masculine traits that we tend to know.
So one of the reasons, and Rollo brings this up sometimes, is that one of the precipitators of divorce would be if she starts making more money than him.
He does.
Right? So again, now we have two leverage points. She makes more money than him, and she, by default, gets more attention than him. And so now he has lost on two leverage points, and the likelihood of divorce increases. That's why we're bringing this up. Can you see, like, on average, you think most women would want a man to lead? Would you at least say most?
It depends what you mean by lead. Like when you say make all the decisions.
Not make all the decisions. We're still obviously
the
going to
final
consult.
decision maker.
Yeah, I don't
he
think
can consult with his wife.
The authority in the marriage.
I have not seen any data to back this up, and definitely anecdotally, which is the only things I can go off of. I haven't seen instances of when the man is more likely to do that. Now, I think where you can make a correlation is that traditional conservative people, they all also more likely to go, because we have that.
Yeah.
We know that people who go to church more, who are more religious, are more likely to stay married.
Yeah.
And those relationships may typically take on that traditional provider and homemaker role more. And I have no problem with those kind of relationships. I just don't like a one size fits all, because I don't think people.
Can we do
Of course, not one size fits all, but there's definitely a one size fits most.
But where are you getting most? Like what?
Okay, look. The thing is that if you look at what women are attracted to, right? The things that women are attracted to all symbolize superiority. So if the guy is going to be superior in every way, from a physicality standpoint, a competence standpoint, etc., it would make sense that he leads. Women find it even if you look at like women, I want a guy that plans a date. I want a guy that pays. When you look at the things that women are attracted to, the man is almost always controlling the frame.
Again, you were talking about anecdotal. I'll just say anecdotal too. 46. If I were in a situation where I consistently were like, yeah, honey, you make the decisions and all these things, I would get left. Like I just can't think of a single
in
exception.
your relationship. But like I'm a lawyer, and I like. in those kind of, like my friends that are also pretty, they have like partnerships. It's not like the male.
That's the minority though.
But what I mean is, where are you getting the most though? Because also you're saying, yeah, they want men who are superior than them and competence. I'm not seeing that in any way. In fact, education, because the gap is reversed. A lot of time, like now they've done all these studies where women are more okay with men making one less money, and also
they kind of have to be because
they have to be,
68% of college graduates
and
are
isn't society
female.
more degenerate than ever, and all these other negative
No, I
repercussions?
don't think we just evolutionary malfunction in 2020.
Pixie, go ahead.
Thank you. I kind of do want to push back on the income standpoint because like that data point becomes like a lot more varied when you research into it. So for example, when you ask women like, oh, are they okay or do they want the man to make more income, or what happens when the woman makes more income? Well, in a lot of cases, she's making more income, but she's expected to do the same amount of household labor as before. So now she's being the breadwinner and she's doing all the household chores. So then in those cases, the woman feels dissatisfied in the relationship because she feels like too much of the burden of labor is on
just
her,
out of curiosity,
for example.
do you feel like say from an evolutionary standpoint, women just have a proclivity to feel more dissatisfied in a relationship than a man?
I'm not sure.
So the reason why is because there's actual studies on where you can control for men and women, which would be comparing the divorce rate for lesbian couples than you would for homosexual couples. And in those relationships, lesbians get divorced at 200% the rate that homosexual men do.
And they're way more violent as well. They like beat each other.
Wait, that's also a really weird stat because it could also be that like lesbian couples are more likely to like, let's say, report on domestic violence while men are
that. Yeah, I agree with you with the domestic violence part. Yeah. I personally think they're not strong enough to knock each other out. That's why I keep fighting each other. But my point is, even when they don't have men to blame, they leave marriages more than men do. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm just not sure if that's like I think it's kind of weird when we take into like different sexual orientation because I don't know if like necessarily like, the dynamics of interest changes there. Like lesbians are attracted to other women, so they're attracted to other feminine qualities. Like I'd rather focus on straight relationships, although I understand where you're coming from.
Well, in lesbian relationships, there's typically a dominant. There's still a masculine and a feminine in a lot of. There's a stud. So like from a role standpoint, it's still there. There's still a masculine and feminine. It's just that everything so many studies show this. Women just tend to get bored in relationships faster than men, significantly faster.
But hold up. The thing is, we're not blaming you. We're saying, do you understand from an evolutionary standpoint what that would have to be? We lived in the 15th century where Kublai Khan and Genghis Khan killed 10% of the human population. They would murder the men and then they would take new wives. Those women had a choice. I'm either going to take a new husband or I'm going to die. There are different points to our evolutionary history where women had to monkey branch from one man to another.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying, oh, women get dissatisfied faster. But regardless of that, we can still acknowledge that, hey, if a woman is gaining a greater income and is also still doing a greater majority of the household chores, that's going to contribute to her dissatisfaction because she just feels like the scales are so uneven. But when it comes to the cases of like, oh no, men doing the same or more amount of household chores and she's maybe making less or same income, there's variables that you can play here where the woman doesn't feel as dissatisfied. That's what I'm trying to convey.
I think because okay, I see what you're saying. She's making money and she's coming home to do homemaking stuff. Cool. But I think the more important thing here is that her being in the breadwinner position is really the main focal point where the issues arise. Because women don't really do that well when they're in a breadwinner position with a man.
And
they just don't.
And they don't want to be, by the way.
You know, and again, I know Jasmine's going to say, well, that's not, etc.
Well,
and you're going to use your personal
It's because both of them have an egalitarian ideal for a relationship or an egalitarian ideal for a marriage.
Real quick, because I want to get, hold on. I want to get the girls involved here.
A conservative thing is more hierarchical.
Ladies, give me a green or a red here. Give me a green if you would prefer your man to be the leader. Give me a red if you want it to be more equal. Give me, I want to be totally, okay. So more equal. So splitting the bills half and half, splitting the chores half and half, splitting financial responsibilities all together half and half, etc. That's what I mean when I say egalitarian equal. Okay.
And that's red. Right.
That's yes. If you want to be yes.
More green now.
Okay.
More green now.
And again, I know this is like a small sample size, etc. But whatever. But you look, ladies, you can look around here. And I've asked this question to almost every group of girls that comes on. It's overwhelming the amount of women that prefer the man to be the leader.
So yeah, there's probably a selection bias going in the people that are here. But what I was saying is, yeah, of course it makes sense. If a woman has more resources and a woman is able to take care of herself, she's going to be more likely to leave a shitty situation.
Or
for
never
sure.
get into a marriage in the first place.
Well, even an equal situation.
Or an equal situation.
And you know, they're not like women when they fare off worse financially after divorce and all of that. So if a woman loves a man, man, she's gonna stay with him. She's not gonna leave him just because she got a raise. If she's leaving you because she's making more money than you, she never fucking liked you. That's what I think.
Well, here's the thing: women's emotions fluctuate, and her doing better than her man can absolutely affect her emotions, because women tend to look at men from a more prospective standpoint, either where they're at or where they're going to be. And if she's with the guy and she out earns him and he's not doing something to, take back that leadership role from a financial provider standpoint, she's going to feel some type of way a lot of the time.
There are stats that show that the #1 precipitator of divorce between couples who have been married already, where they're either making equal or the man's making more and the woman gets a raise in pay of some sort, so she gets a promotion or something like that is the #1 precipitator for divorce.
Exactly.
The other part is this, is that also women find men who do not make as much money as they do as economically undesirable. There's plenty of stats for this. And women, from the polls that they've done up to now, anyways, they expect that man to make 68% more than she already makes. Now, put this into perspective. 56%. Well, then you've got more women going to university. You got more women on OnlyFans. You got more women making more money right now, and yet the expectation still stays the same.
I mean,
and it also stays the same, I should say, also in the most gender egalitarian countries on planet Earth.
Right.
Almost half of U.S. households right now have women making as much, the same, or more than the husband. And I agree with you, because women don't want, one of the things that happens in divorce is women are far more likely to have their standard of living go down. They're more likely to seek government assistance.
In the long term, yes. In the short term, no.
Okay,
I said, and I really wanted to make sure I clarified this, because everyone says, oh, yeah, women's standard of living, and they take a financial hit and they do worse off after divorce. And the funny thing is they still choose to leave. But the thing is, and this, I'm going to quote James Sexton here, is in the short term, that is, women do way better. In the long term, they don't. Because when the man is already coming back and already paying child support and already paying alimony after that, then you're seeing the transfer of resources from that man to that woman afterwards. Is that here's the real crux of this is that the incentive for the divorce in the first place? And that's where we can debate that. So the problem is you still have to get past one really big hurdle. Men are 8 times more likely to kill themselves after a
100% agree.
divorce.
So I saw you guys.
That's the ultimate, down. That's a big downside for divorce, right there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you guys. And actually, I saw. I love Richard Reeves. I think Richard Reeves is Of Boys and Men is a great book. I think everyone should read it. Like, I like a lot of the stuff he talks about there, but I just feel like, yes, a woman who is resources, who's able to take care of herself, is going to not be as likely to stay in a shitty situation. I think that's really clear. But also that women want these men that are better than them in all these ways. This is changing as society is changing. And
I would argue that it is not, because the machine hasn't changed in 200,000 years.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that, like, you're talking about cultural changes, but our evolution isn't going to change. Like, when women, when they're surveyed about when they make more money, they want men who make even more money than them.
And this is the argument made about hypergamy going down.
As the scale keeps going up, it's not like, well, I make $1 million a year, so I need a boyfriend who only makes $50,000. It actually goes up even higher.
Escalation.
Well, that's not even. I mean, there's a great study, Institute of Labor Economics. The study's called the Economics of Hypergamy, and this was even looking at, like, since the 1800s to 2022, over 33 million marriages. Women typically marry men that are of the same status, and they're looking at all these countries.
Well, they kind of have to. I mean,
most people may
since the 1880s, but that's the thing. That's because that's what we had. Right, so if you lived in Des Moines, Iowa, in 1910, then the only people
sexual marketplace was completely
your sexual marketplace is only going to be the people in Des Moines, Iowa, in 1910, who are about the same socioeconomic class as you are.
So hypergamy is only recent, but you're saying it's like
no. What I'm saying is hypergamy, like your ability to get to Drake, has only been since Instagram came around.
So hypergamy. So women in all these since the 1800s, they wanted those better men, but they just couldn't get them always.
They didn't have access to them. Just like we didn't have access to pornography, they didn't have access to celebrities.
Well, I think everyone wants, if they have access to something better than them, even men or women, they're going to want it. Like, I don't think, but in general, people tend to mate across IQ, across socioeconomic status, and people tended to marry even across all these.
The environment in which hypergamy was allowed to be expressed. So if you go and you look at things prior to the sexual revolution, we had the church, we had like family stigmas. Again, like I'll give you a quick for instance. Single mothers prior to the sexual revolution was a cultural, social stigma. It was a shame. They had to put that woman away so she could have the baby and give it to the grandparents or whatever else. Today, that woman is treated as a superhero.
Yeah.
She can now do. That's the difference, by the way, in just the last 60 years, which is a blink of an eye in human evolution right now. So what I'm saying is this, is that we used to have buffers and checks and balances against men's sexual nature, which is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, and we also had buffers against the worst parts of hypergamy, okay? Meaning we had the church, we had social stigmas, we had family, we had mores that were buffers against those. Now those things are gone with the advent of hormonal birth control and the sexual revolution that was the result.
So
Real quick,
you're
I want to
saying,
add to this real fast.
It was
and I'll
always
give you a chance here in a
there. It
second.
just was the expression of it
And to
allowed
personify
to
this,
exist in the context has only been within the last like 65
you're
years.
saying that hypergamy was always just what they wanted, even though mating practices have not mirrored this.
Because we have one invention that allows us to see.
But then even now,
I think the confusion, because I've had this discussion before. I think the confusion may be hypergamy is just money. You want a man who's taller than you, and if you have to stratify amongst several men, the man who may be taller than the rest of them, you have to choose between several men who are 5'6" and one who's 6'3". You're more attracted to the guy who's 6'3".
And men are more attracted to the woman.
Correct. That's hypoandry. Then that's what that'd be called. That's not the issue. My point is the idea that hypergamy didn't exist before. It still existed before. Whenever I hear this argument, it's like, well, because people of the same socioeconomic group married each other, therefore no hypergamy. No, hypergamy is everything. Hypergamy is he is stronger than the other man. It's not the best man you can get. It's the best man you can't get.
Yeah, but you guys. What I'm saying is, you guys are saying this is what women want, but the practices that have actually been, women marry men that are taller than them. So that physical part, maybe. Although I wouldn't say they're more attractive. The tallest, yes, and the man wants the most beautiful woman. True.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, you're saying hypergamy was just what women wanted, even though it hasn't been reflected in mating practices, and even now, almost half of women are making as much or more or almost the same as the men. So when exactly was hypergamy just exploding? And other than on dating apps where people are just swiping, when is it actually? What real world evidence do you have of hypergamy actually determining mate selection? Because it doesn't seem to be there.
Well, no, the Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge is part of
but
it.
But that's not reflected in the real world. Like that's
How is that not reflected in the real world?
So you're still okay. Maybe it's proving the point that this is what women want, but what people actually do in real life, what
you
people
work on
do.
OnlyFans, it's right there.
Let's talk about the average woman.
We have 28% of sexless men. Hold on, we have 28% of men.
Wait, where are you getting 28% of sexless men?
Between the ages of 18 to 30, these men have had no sex in the last year. Hold on.
What year?
Well, but that went from 2014
not
to
2021, like we're trying to update all of a sudden.
2022, it's not that. It's between 12 to 15% that have had zero sexual partners.
And has been on a steady decline since 1989, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, because younger people. So in fact, 25 to 30, GSS 2022, 8% of men reported zero sexual partners.
Right up until 2020, when it fell off a cliff and then went right back up to where it is.
No, it's not.
See, here's the thing: is everybody wants to look at that GSS study. They want to look at just what's happened since like 2019 to where we are right now, as opposed to the fact that it was from 1989 all the way to 2018, which is the time shift for that entire study.
No, I mean the 2018 was like the year that all the incels, red pillers took that graph, because that was actually an anomaly, even when you looked at years before, and especially when you looked at years after. Sexlessness is down. Yeah, well, I'm looking at the GSS.
That's only that stat that you're looking at is one data point among probably like a dozen.
It was an anomaly from 2008 when the iPhone was created till 2018. That's the point.
That's not